Joining us now is Democratic Senator of Rhode Island, Sheldon Whitehouse. It's good to see you, Senator. As I said, you have raised serious questions about the debate performance by President Biden. Congressman Doggett has called for him to drop out of the race. Just a short time ago, former Obama cabinet member, former HUD Secretary Julian Castro said it's time for him to get out of the race. He suggested perhaps VP Kamala Harris could step in. Can Joe Biden save his campaign?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's been an outstanding president, and he had one bad debate with a couple of bad blips in the debate. Beside those bad blips by Biden was just an avalanche of lies and thuggery by Trump. So you put the two side by side, and I would prefer Joe Biden all day long. But it was shocking to see this because those of us who know him have never seen him that way before. And I think, as Speaker Pelosi just said, it's appropriate to know, hey, was this a bad episode or is this now a condition? And I think the discussions that are happening within the family and within his close advisors are exactly the right thing. And at some point, it needs to bring in the leadership in Congress. And then we need to make a plan going forward to win this election and keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office.
Realistically, Senator, you know how this works. How quickly does that have to happen? Because if there was to be someone else running for president on the Democratic side, if it were Kamala Harris, she would take over the campaign funds. It's not that if it's anyone else. And there is only 4 months until the election. Is there a clock ticking for Joe Biden?
Well, I think the convention is an obvious tipping point. And I think that they're working this, pretty steadily. I don't think there's anything immediate that needs to be done today, tomorrow. I think they've got through the 4th of July weekend to, reflect and decide what to do going forward. And there actually is a scenario in which this was just an episode and in which this gives the campaign a chance for self-reflection and that they come out of it actually stronger with a sharper message and with a little bit more fight in them to convince the American people that President Biden is the person who can see us safely through the next 4 years and not this criminal character, Donald Trump.
Bloomberg is reporting that the DNC is considering formally nominating Joe Biden as early as mid-July to squash any talk of replacing him on the ticket. Would you support that? Is that the way to operate when polls show so many voters, Democratic voters, have reservations about Joe Biden?
I don't know. I don't have a view on that. Let's wait and see what the DNC chooses to do and how it plays out. I think the important thing here is that at the end of the day, Democrats are unified behind a candidate who can defeat Donald Trump and do the things that the American public has been waiting for, thirsting for, but the Republicans have been blockading. So not only win the presidency, but also hold the Senate and win back the House. That's the goal. Everything that tends to that, we should support.
We did see President Biden yesterday following the Supreme Court's immunity decision, attacking the court for setting a dangerous precedent. Let me play a little bit of that, Senator.
I know I will respect the limits of the presidential powers I have for 3.5 years. But any president, including Donald Trump, will now be free to ignore the law. I concur with Justice Sotomayor's dissent today. Here's what she said. She said, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. With fear for our democracy, I dissent. End of quote. So should the American people dissent.
The House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has already said Democrats will engage in aggressive oversight of the court, although that's not expected to get far, obviously, with Republicans in charge. But on the Senate side, can anything be done, or do you think there's something that needs to be done?
We have been working steadily in the Senate. We've made a lot of progress on a number of fronts, legislative, investigative, just in terms of the court recognizing its problems and working through the judicial conference. We're going to continue to make that progress. Unfortunately, Republicans have telegraphed to everybody that nobody should honor our subpoenas because they won't allow them to be enforced. But if the voters put the House in Democratic hands, Republican senators can't filibuster a House subpoena. And I think if that happens, then the investigations will continue. We'll get to the bottom of what the heck has been going on over there. And I think that will be very helpful for the American people to understand.
Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says she plans to file articles of impeachment against the justices, although she didn't specify who or when. How realistic is that?
Under a House controlled by the Republican Speaker, not very. But I think it's important for people to be sending signals that this court is out of control. This is not a normal court. This is not the way courts ought to behave. And when you look at the backstory of how these justices got appointed, about the whole scheme that's been developed by right-wing billionaires to capture the court, to get their people on, to use the Federalist Society as a screen for their court-packing activities. And then you look at the track record of the court over and over again, doing what these the front groups of the billionaires tell them to do. There's a very important story there for us to tell much better, and we'll tell it better once we know what the real facts are.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.